prayer boxes over there. I can't keep up with the count. There's so many now. But we did have one of the previous chaplains reach out, and these are actually National Guard chaplains, and they've reached out to us. This chaplain is deployed on the southern border of the U.S. and asked if we could help. And Bill, of course, we said yes. And so I believe there were boxes sent last week already to them on the southern border. So thank you so much for your support there. God's Food Pantry, as you know, we have a food drive coming up. And please, adults, don't shame us and let the youth or the children win. So please bring your food. God's Food Pantry is also the box that you see out by the office. So when you come in, that food box that's there, that goes right to God's Food Pantry. And thank you to our youth that gather that regularly and take it for us over to God's Food Pantry. Hope Restored Mission, that helps homeless in Plano, and we continue to collect hygiene kits for them. Jane Clanahan runs that for us, and she will put out, when we have a need and the box gets full, it is also right there by the office. Memorial Elementary mentoring. We are definitely in need of more mentors and mentors for Memorial Elementary, and Cindy Boatfield would love to hear from you if you would like to be a mentor and make a difference in the life of a child. I believe it's one hour a week. So the commitment is not huge, but your impact is. North Texas Food Bank. So on February 27th, we served 165 households. And how that really is impactful is that it's 850 individual people were impacted by being able to pick up food in our parking lot. People who love people. If you've been here one time before, you know this is important to me. We meet every Monday and Thursday morning. Would love to have you join us. It's by the Day Labor Center in East Plano. We serve 100 people every Monday and 100 people every Thursday. So 200 people a week that are homeless or food insecure. We'll happily take your warm clothing as well. Many of you have provided clothing, so thank you so much for that. They're super excited when they get the hoodies or the gloves. So thank you for continuing to support that important mission. Reach Out Honduras, their new school year has just started and kicked off. They need school supplies, and we'll put out an appeal for that shortly. They may also do some mentoring, but we'll let you know as those opportunities come to us. And then Wellspring Counseling Center. So many of you may not know, but Wellspring is actually a mission of the church. Wellspring has become its own 501c3, which allows it to raise more money, grants, that sort of thing, funding a little bit differently than the way it's previously been done. They have been selected to participate in the Nonprofit Success Institute for 2022. And why that's important is it's the United Way, it is Communities Foundation of North Texas, and it is teaching Wellspring how to ask for money, how to be more efficient. I will tell you, one of our vendors from the Mission Market, which is People Who Love People, is Paper for Water, the girls that do the origami. They participated in that last year through COVID and actually increased their donation. They doubled their donations and actually are spending less time trying to make that money up. So really impactful and good to hear that Wellspring has been chosen for that. One thing that's not on my list that I want to call out is the United Methodist Women. We have our list of missions that we support. UMW also supports missions, and I got their year-end report, and there were 11 organizations that were supported, many of the same ones that I gave you tonight. For example, one of that was on there was Wellspring Counseling Center, and they donated enough money for 26 hours of counseling. So as you buy pecans and as you go to the tea and as you participate in their activities, all of that money goes right back out to support so many things, and we're going to do a better job of talking about UMW and all of the other missions that you all participate in. So thank you so much for all you've done. And then Leslie's going to talk about what's upcoming.
We have a Family Promise March 13th through 20th, and that is the program, it's the program for homeless families. It's a structured program where they get back to work and they leave the program ready to live independently. And so we provide the food for the two families. We have two families, I believe single mothers in both families. So look for the weekly e-bulletin on the information on that. Garage sale coming up April 9th. This is one of the few fundraisers that Missions has, so please gather up your stuff and buy a spot or come and shop. That's April 9th. Mission Together is April 24th. We'll get some information out to you in March on what the activities are going to be. We're waiting to see how this COVID wave recesses, so then we'll let y'all know what we've got planned for Mission Together. And then a Carter blood drive on May 22nd. Also, not on the list, but we are going to plan a virtual open house for missions to invite everybody who has expressed interest in participating in missions, which has been a lot of people. We've got a lot of people from the horse guy where we put our forms on it, and a lot of new people interested. So we want to have an open house where people can come and learn about our missions and go ahead at the end of it, sign up if they're ready to join a mission or give us ideas or lead a mission. So thank you very much. That's everything we got going on.
I'm going to invite Marty Bowen up here to talk about youth and children's, but before she gets up here, I just want us to take a quick moment, bow our heads, and say a quick prayer. God, thank you so much for putting in our hearts this calling to touch lives, to do mission, to do your work, to be your hands and feet. God, you call us to be your witnesses to the world, and I thank you for these witnesses that are here amongst us, the witnesses that are online supporting us. God, I thank you for this calling that you have given us. It is in your son's name we pray. Amen.
We had a little glitch to start. Could y'all just do introductions one more time for the people online?
Sure. So we're going to redo the introductions because the folks online didn't quite catch that part. So my name's Tim Hobson, serving as lay leader.
I'm Pam Rossman, SPRC Chair.
I'm Chase Koska, Chair of the Finance Committee.
Debbie Eisen, Co-Chair, Missions Committee.
And Leslie Harris, Co-Chair of Missions Committee.
All right, hello. I'm Marty Bowen, the Minister with Children, Families, and Connecting, and I am representing the children and the youth tonight. Talk a little bit about what we're doing right now. For the spring semester, we are continuing our Sunday morning and evening program, and those programming including children's music, Club 45, Kids Power Hour, Youth Band, Youth Choir, The Bigger Picture, and Crossfire Youth Group. Some events we have coming up. We have the Fat Tuesday fundraiser dinner on March the 1st. So we hope y'all will sign up for that and join us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Easter egg extravaganza. You'll be seeing our bunny out there soon to bring a lot of candy to fill our eggs. Do y'all remember that event? It's been a while, but looking forward to that. The Bigger Picture. Y'all are going to hear more and more about that. Tim referenced that a little while ago, and that is the musical that our youth are going to be doing, and it was written by our own Robin Anderson and by Kim Ross, and the excitement that has just been going through this building, this place, around the Bigger Picture is just amazing. We have so much talent here, and we're going to really enjoy that. So that is going to be on April the 30th and May the 1st. And also, they will be going on choir tour this summer. They're going to be taking this musical on the road. That will be, I skipped ahead a little bit, sorry, but that will be June the 5th through the 12th. They'll be taking the Bigger Picture on the road. We also have Vacation Bible School the 13th through the 17th. And I feel like I should knock on wood, but we're planning to do that the way we've done it before, daytime, lots of fun, lots of energy. We're very excited about Vacation Bible School. I talked to you about the choir date. We also have senior high mission trip, June the 19th through the 24th, and junior high mission trip, June the 25th through the 30th. And those 2 mission trips are going to be going to Colorado. And the youth are very excited about that, as well as the adults. I think it's going to be just an amazing trip for all of them. I just wanted to say a word. So I was sitting out in the gathering area last week with some of the kids, the youth who had returned from midwinter, and with Sarah, our new minister with youth and families. And they were all putting beads on their laces of their tennis shoes and talking. And then 2 more youth came and ran into the gathering area, and they were saying, "Sarah, Sarah!" The excitement. I'm very excited about this new staff person that we have. We are very blessed with Sarah. If you haven't had the opportunity to get to know her, you should. And she's just doing an incredible job getting in there with the youth and building our youth, and just the relationships that she's building are wonderful. So we are hoping that more of our children, every time we get a step up, we have another wave of COVID come through. So we're having trouble with our younger families, getting our young kids here with all the COVID that's going on. But, we start building and then it's kind of back. So we hope that as time rolls on and hopefully things move on a bit, we're going to have more kids, more families coming to really get excited with all the youth activities that we have going on. And we're so excited about the program we have for children and youth.
All right, so since Brian's not here, I'm going to go ahead and cover for trustees. So Jeff's wall construction has been completed. That is the new wall, glass wall, if you will, between the choir entrance and the narthex here to kind of close off the space a little bit, because you know how it is if you're an usher or a greeter and you're standing in that area, and whenever the outside door gets opened, I see Carolyn's nodding her head, yes, she knows what I'm talking about here. That cold air comes rushing all the way down the narthex and everybody gets a bit of a chill. So that wall's going to help kind of seal that area off a bit and kind of keep the cold air out and the warm air in. So that's done now. The canopies are being looked at for the north and south entrances. Again, this is part of the water intrusion prevention program that's underway here. So that is being worked on at the moment. Also looking at some potential tile installation at the entrances. Right now we have carpet at all of our entrances, so instead of having carpet, potentially taking that out and putting tile in, just as to have something that doesn't, you don't have to deal with moisture on tile. That's pretty easy to mop up. So all things that are being looked at. Looking ahead, the Trustees is partnering with the weekday program to replace the wrought iron fence. I don't know if you've seen, or maybe you're part of the weekday program. The wrought iron fence by the weekday program is kind of fallen apart a bit and needs to be replaced. And since we have to replace it, we're also going to be looking at expanding it to make it a larger area to have an outdoor learning center as part of the weekday program. So that's underway. And then last but not least, working on wayfinding signs. So I don't know if you've been in the church of late, but we do have some wayfinding signs inside and also outside, but looking to make an improvement there to make it easier to find your way around the church. So those are all things being worked on and looked at the moment. All right, Chase?
Thank you. All right, so I think since this is the first quarter meeting, I think it's important to look back at the end of 2021 and just see how we ended the year. We ended the year with an actual income of $1,822,000, actual expenses of $1,804,000, bringing us to a net actual of $18,000 and change. So we ended the year in the black. That's a great thing. We should also compare how we ended 2021 with the previous years, with the exception of 2020. I really don't like comparing it to that. As you see, I have an asterisk there. Because of COVID, there was a lot of irregularities in our expenses. The church was shut down, so that caused less utility usage, less custodial fees. So really not fair to compare to 2020, but to compare to the previous year, 2019, which was actually fairly normal. As you can see, we ended on par with that. So we'll move on to the next slide about pledging. I'm actually really optimistic about what I see with our pledges. In 2022, we have 226 families pledging $1,236,000. If you'll compare that to 2021, in the midst of the pandemic, where that number was, it looks like our family's growing, our giving is increasing, we're getting back to normalcy. So I'm very optimistic to see that. The next slide, I'll talk about the Our Home campaign. As you recall, we started that in the summer of 2018. The Our Home campaign was meant to fund some capital improvements to the church and the grounds, as well as pay down our mortgage. We had 268 pledges at that time for a total of $2,437,000. To date, we have collected $2,277,000, almost $78,000 of that, for a collection rate of 93.5%. And the reason I put that up there is because that is a fantastic number, 93.5%. The standard for any sort of campaign or annual pledging is 85 to 90%, 90% being really good. We're at 93.5. That being said, we can still give. If you've not made the remainder of your pledge for that, I really encourage you to send that in. Next slide, please. And the reason being is all of the expenses for the capital improvements in the grounds have been paid off. So every dollar, every dime that you pay towards the Our Home campaign at this point goes straight to the mortgage paydown. That's just going to help the overall health of the church in the long run, the more we could pay down that mortgage debt. And I'll show you where we are with the mortgage balance. So when we started the Our Home campaign, we had $4,652,000 in mortgage balance debt. That was middle of the year in 2018. By the end of 2019, we had paid it down $550,000. By the end of 2020, we had paid it down another $205,000, down to $3,897,000. And by the end of last year, we had paid another $245,000 to make that number at the end of 2021, $3,652,000. You can do the math. That's $1 million in pay down over 3 years. That's 21.5% of our overall mortgage paid down in a 2.5 to 3 year period. It's absolutely fantastic. We plan on pushing another, I think we have about $52,000 in the Our Home fund right now, so we plan in the next week or two to pay it down to a nice even $3,600,000. Oh, it's already done. Well, there you go. So again, 21.5% pay down over 3 year period is amazing. I congratulate everyone that was part of that campaign, and so I'm just really hopeful for the future and the health of our finances here at the church. So, thank you.
Hello. SPRC, or better known as Staff Parish Relations Committee, is very equivalent to what a human resources department is to a company. We have a lot of hats that we wear. We have a lot of information, but one of the biggest responsibilities that we have is to fulfill staff positions that are open. So we've done this last year a few times, and it's where we start off the process with the search committee, and then we're going through all the resumes and all the applicants and trying to see who's best for the position. Once we figure out who we want to interview, we interview. And it's a multi-step process. Like with Micah, one of the things we did, the very last step, I think, of the interview process was to bring the band in. So it's people that are important to that position. And like with Micah, I think we all can say he's just been absolutely amazing. So one of the things that we did this year is we had the Director of Business Administration position open up, which I want to introduce you to Nina Davis. If you haven't met Dinah yet, you need to do so. She is a Fort Worth native, a TCU graduate. She has a bachelor's degree in finance and accounting. She's worked in the financial industry, but primarily in church administration. Her husband, Tim, and Nina have 2 children, grown, Lacey and Lainey. They have 1 grandchild, which is their only grandson. And of course, per Nina, he is the cutest kid on the planet. So those of us who have grandchildren, we get it. She enjoys cooking and sewing. She has an affection for all types of music. She loves traditional worship hymns. If you get in the car with her, she's probably going to play the country station. Loves the beach, and she has 1 item on her bucket list, which is a cooking tour of Italy. So, Nina, welcome. The next person wanted you to meet is, and you probably already have, you already heard Marty talk about Sarah Bush Henson. She is just a delight. She is the minister with youth and families. Sarah grew up in Houston. She attended Texas A&M with a business administration degree. Her focus was in marketing and nonprofit business management. She was a youth group kid, which I think a lot of us can say to that. But she felt the call to ministry very early on in college. She interned in Houston. She had 4 years of full-time ministry, and she was a 2021 graduate of the Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary. She mastered in theology and youth ministry. She met her husband at A&M. Being a Baylor grad, I'm going to give her grace on that. She loves to travel. She loves to spend time outdoors. And this one caught me. She said she loves going out to eat by trying new recipes. So that means she likes to cook. So Sarah felt the call and felt the love of God as a youth in the youth ministry program at her church, and she really wants to bring that to Plano FUMC. She loves the community family. She loves being in ministry. And one thing I caught, that she would love to have a bite with you, or maybe a coffee or something like that. So next slide. Other things that are going on within SPRC, we are in search now for our office manager. We are at a very early stage in that. We're just now reviewing resumes, so that's in the works. The next thing I wanted to make sure is that you knew who the people of SPRC were this year. So if I can, it's Dave Anderson, Kevin Clanahan, Kathy Cox, Alan England, Catherine Hake, Tommy Lawrence, Michael Smith, Brenda Zimmerman, and there should be 2 N's on the back of Zimmerman. I didn't catch that in time. Sorry about that. So, and then myself. So we are just looking forward to a fabulous year, and just hope that we can help our church continue moving forward, because that is our mission.
All right, moving on to church council. So Keith wanted to extend a special thanks to those that have rolled off and served on church council. That is Kate Barnett, Rick Billings, Susan Moore, Jana Morris, Will Peterman, and Stacy Witten. We thank you for your service. Moving on then to the 2022 church council, we have on the council Jennifer Barstow, Brian Barty, Cindy Boatfield, Kevin Clanahan, Kathy Cox, Gavin Cox, Joyce Craig, Vicki Devantier, Catherine Hake, and Leslie Harris. And there's more. Myself, Debbie Eisen, Alethea Lamp, Keith Landau, Mark McLean, Yolanda Murray, Scott Overman, Jan Samuels, John Schell, and Kristen White. Some of the things that Church Council is looking to be working on this year, as we're going to complete the work on the long-term campus sustainability group, that study group that was formed last, I guess 2 years ago almost now. Part of that is evaluating other growth and income options in the short and medium term benefits for that. So we'll be completing that work and communicating that out to the church. And then next is working on our draft, part of the draft objectives is working, we do this every year, is working with SPRC and myself on an update of our FUMC profile. So that's just a regular profile that we maintain of who we are as a church and a congregation that we maintain with at the district level. All right, moving on then, I think we're getting into, wanted to share with you the survey results. Now this is from the communications survey. So we did this over a kind of a 2-week period, starting on January 16th, going through the following Sunday, then the 23rd. So we had a total of 124 people respond. The first slide, if we go one more, this kind of shows you the age breakdown of those who took the survey. I can't say that I was surprised, to be honest. So you see on the left, we have 0 to 18 years old, and it gets progressively older the more you go to the right. I see that no one wanted to claim that they were, in the far right category of 96 to 105. But we did have majority of our folks in the 46 to 55, 56 to 65, 66 to 75 range, which I think is pretty representative of our congregation. On the next slide then, we asked the question, which service do you attend? So again, for me at least, this wasn't a surprise, was that between the in-person and online, a majority of our folks are worshiping in person with us, and a majority are worshiping at the 11 o'clock service, followed by the 9 o'clock service in the morning. We do see that there's about 20 to 30 folks, at least IP addresses, that worship online with us that took the survey, that kind of do both, in person and online. The next question we ask is, how do you find out what's going on in church? And this was interesting. This kind of surprised me a little bit. The top 2 things, at least the top one, was really the announcements. I really didn't think that that was going to be the top thing that kind of came out, but just the announcements in worship, announcements in small group meetings and things like that is one of the top 2 ways which people find out what's going on. And then followed by just the weekly emails, so the ones that come out on Tuesdays and Thursdays with the Matt's Musings. That seems to be where a bulk of people are getting their information. What I did also find interesting is if you look kind of towards the middle right, where it says flyers or worship bulletins, that only had less than 10% each, which I thought was a little interesting. These are things that, I reviewed with the staff a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to use all this information to see, okay, what are some areas we need to be focusing on more maybe, or what are some things that we've been doing that maybe we don't need to be doing because it's not important anymore. The next question we asked was, what is your preferred way to find out what is going on? And here there's a pretty strong correlation between the top 2 answers from the way people find out what's going on. Again, we see here the top 2 ways are, one, between the announcements and then just the weekly emails, with the weekly emails showing a stronger preference versus anything else. The next question is asking, what is important to you? So this was ranging anything from worship opportunities, special events, classes, giving opportunities. There was either an other option where you could just type in whatever you wanted. Interestingly enough, between worship opportunities and special events, so kind of what's going on in the church, those seems to be the top 2 things that people are interested in. About half of you are interested in class opportunities, and then mission opportunities, there's a strong interest there, and also this financial status and kind of giving opportunities, it kind of trails off. Then the next question is what social media applications do you use? Not surprising, most people in the congregation use Facebook. I think that's probably a generational thing at this point. I know my kids don't really use Facebook. They use a multitude of different social media apps, but Facebook isn't one of them. But for me, I use Facebook, my wife uses Facebook, and I think probably a lot of us do use Facebook, so no surprise here. But that does give us an opportunity maybe to think about what are some other ways we can be putting things out there in social media. So that's something we're thinking about. The last question here on the survey is, for those who worship in person, are you looking at or are you using any of the pamphlets, leaflets, flyers in the pew backs in front of you? And it's kind of roughly 50-50, half no, half yes. So what I thought was interesting was, even though half said yes, they look at it, in terms of getting information off of it on a regular basis, and you look at the total survey results, it wasn't all that high on the list of things. All right, so now we're going to go to the Q&A portion. We have a mic up here up front. Please feel free to come forward, ask your questions, or Micah, if we have any questions online, if you would be so kind as to call those out. Maybe we'll start with an online question. We don't have any yet. Debbie wants to add something.
So I was remiss and I missed one of our missions, and I apologize for that. We volunteer with the Plano overnight warming stations, which, as you know, last week was very important as our homeless people went to the Salvation Army. We were called to serve with other churches in the area, and so I know Matt put out a plea to, they go by POWs, and so I did also want to thank Ruth Roberson for volunteering to be our POWs coordinator. So if you have questions about POWs, please let Ruth know. That is definitely the Holy Spirit. She raised her hand without really understanding the full impact of what all that meant. So thank you so much for that.
Hey there, good evening, am I on? Yes. Okay, Alan Johnson. Real quick question. Can you tell us more if there is plan going ahead to convert Albert's office into 2 offices with a door connecting into the main hallway in the office area?
That's a good question. I do not know the answer to that question. Can you shoot me an email with it, but I can find the right person who knows the answer to that question. Anything, Micah? Going once? Going twice? Ruth?
I appreciate this. I'm Ruth Roberson. I appreciate those of you who told us who were on your committees. And I wondered if somewhere there is a printed version that we could have to look at all the time, because I couldn't write fast enough to get all the names down. So is that available?
Yes.
And
I
how?
can tell you where to go get that.
Okay.
Go to the church website.
Okay.
Go under the section Who We Are, and there will be a drop-down menu that comes up, and it'll say 2022 Leadership.
Okay.
Click on that link, and you can see all of the committees and who's on all the committees there. That's on our website.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I also wanted to ask, because I attended the North Texas Conference Laity Training webinar that was advertised, and I'd be curious to know how many other people attended that, because there were a lot of ideas that we got from that, and my next question is, now what? Where do I go with these questions and ideas and the resources that are available to us? What do I do with it?
That's great, and I'm glad you brought that up. Something we've been working on with the staff, and one of the surveys that Micah just recently put out is asking that very question of what are you interested in doing ministries, just whatever. But then also we have the gifts of service cards that are being compiled currently, and in due course we're going to get those service cards, find out who feels a calling towards what ministries, and we're going to start getting those connected to various ministry opportunities in different ways, and hopefully in creative ways. So, and the other opportunity thing that got brought up yesterday in our local leadership training was putting an idea box somewhere out there where people with ideas for certain ministries can submit those. But I would also put along with that, if you submit an idea, just know that you might be asked to potentially lead something if that is something that you're called towards. Question? So the question is what is being done to market the modern service both internally and externally? Did I get that right? Micah, can you help me on that one? Micah's grabbing a mic.
Okay. There we go. You can't see me online, but you can hear me. So we're in process on a planning team to try to help guide that service and see if we can't do outreach into the community to grow that service. As far as specific marketing, right now, as far as I know, we don't have anything specific that we're doing marketing-wise. I don't know, as far as a larger marketing plan, I think that's a question that would be for the larger staff, and I'm not sure what committee. In other words, that's not me to answer that specific question as far as marketing goes. So that's what I have.
All right, thanks, Micah. Going back to your question, though, Ruth, just want to say how important it is that we really need to be thinking in creative ways of how to connect with the world out there. And I think your question is a great question, in that there are tons of opportunities to do mission work all over the place. But what we have to remember is it can't just be staff-driven, and it can't just be, let's say, management of the church or just the leadership of the church driven. It needs to be everyone in the congregation also driving those things and getting involved and taking part in those things. So that part I want to emphasize, because that's really going to be critical, not only in their faith development and their faith walk, but helping them connect with the community and developing relationships with the community out there. Last call for questions. All right, anyone got a stump the pastor question? All right, we gave it the 7 seconds of awkward silence. So with that, we do have one. They got it into the wire. What is going on with the long-term campus sustainability? So to answer that question, just a brief update. So we have signed a letter of intent with Embry. That was signed some months ago. Embry has the task to basically go explore the potential for the land with the city of Plano as kind of a precursor before anything else is done. We're waiting on feedback from them in regards to that. So once we have that feedback, then we can potentially move forward in next steps, but it'll depend on what that feedback is. All right. No other questions? I thank you very much for being here. We will see you in about 3 months from now. Please, if you have anything in the meantime, please feel free to contact myself or any of the committee chairs. Again, we're going to be working on setting up an inbox to get ideas and things like that, so please feel free to reach out to any of the leadership of the church or any of the staff of the church with things that you might have. Thank you very much.